What if your hardest moment, the one that broke you, was also the doorway to your calling? Today, we're talking about how loss, confusion, and pain can become the spark that help us find our voice and purpose. So, welcome back to the Hormone Harmony RX podcast, where we talk about healing hormones and the human spirit. I'm Dr. Evelyn Ellis, a naturopathic doctor helping women rebalance their health and rediscover who they are at every stage of life. So today I am joined by Maritza, originally from Peru, now empowering women to find confidence, build purpose, and thrive. Her story is one of a deep loss, transformation, and unstoppable faith in helping others rise. So let's begin there. Not at the peak of success, but at the moment everything's changed. Marissa, welcome. Would you like to share about your story of how the cross-cultural story from Peru to the US, professional pivots, and awakening moment after your sister passing?
Thank you so much, Evelyn. I'm truly honored to be here. I believe that when women share their stories, we give other women permission to heal, to rise, and to dream again. And I hope that today something in my journey helps someone listening feel less alone.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And I do remember when you are also from Peru to the US, that was the same story where I'm from Vietnam to the US. And to the audience who had a cross-cultural story, you will all understand. All of a sudden, we got transported to the other country and we had to adapt with everything, including language, culture, adaptability with people. Yeah, so tell me more. Was there a moment that you almost like gave up or when your mission didn't feel clear? Yeah, how was feel in the very beginning?
Yeah, well, let me start by telling you a little bit more about me.
Yeah.
So I was born and raised in Peru, like you said, in a very humble town. And from a very young age, I always felt that life could be bigger than, what I
Yeah.
saw around me. I remember reading fairy tales as a little girl and truly believing that one day I would meet my own Prince Charming. There was something about daydreaming that guided me long before I
Yeah.
ever understood the power of manifestation. So, after many toxic relationships and a couple of
Mm.
good ones, you know, life surprised me. So 17 years ago, I met my own Prince Charming. I moved to the US with him. We got married in a castle, and we've been building our own
Ooh.
version of happily ever after. Um, so I built a career in education and business, and from the outside, it looked like I had a successful life. But inside, something always whispered that I was meant to do something more. I would start every job excited and full of motivation. Oh, yeah, this is the thing that I want to do, blah, blah, blah. And then, not long after, I would feel disconnected, unfulfilled, and ready to move on. At the time, I didn't realize it, but it was because I wasn't aligned with my true purpose.
Mm.
So then everything changed when my younger sister was murdered by her ex partner in Mexico.
Wow.
That pain broke me in ways I cannot describe. Um, but it also changed something inside me. One morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. I was not able to fall back to sleep. My mind was full of ideas, different things. And I felt like, okay, where this is coming from? Like they felt like messages, but like it was not like from, I don't know, it felt like it was not from my brain, but it was. So it was something really weird that happened. So what I did is just get my phone that was next to me and start writing, writing,
Yeah.
writing everything that came to my mind. So I start, I don't know how many 2 pages I think of writing. but it was something like guiding my hand or my fingers in this case, to write everything. So that moment became my North Star. It was when I understood that my purpose was to help women remember their worth, their strength, and their voice. So no woman ever loses herself the way my sister did.
Yeah.
So when you asked me the question, if there was a moment you almost gave up. So I would say absolutely. And to be honest, there are still moments when I question everything, my purpose, my path, my identity as a woman. Grief doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your
Mhm.
sense of direction. So there have been moments when I felt so lost that I wonder, who am I to help anyone if I can't even help myself? Those
Mhm.
moments that we all have, like we feel down, we feel like, okay, maybe we are not enough. Maybe we're trying to do something so big that we can't reach. Maybe
Mhm.
it's too big for us, right? But
Yeah.
here's what I've learned. Like, purpose isn't something you find when life is perfect. It is something you build while your hands are still trembling. It's born in the confusion, in the fear, in the days when you want to give up, but you take one small step anyway, even if it feels like the world is ending.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. It's a very deep pain and is is scary to hear and to also remember those past as well because it can be very traumatic and trauma experience is not a simple thing to go through. Now, you also mentioned about having ideas and writing on paper so much. During that process, what came through your mind that if you were back then and some audience who experienced almost the same thing of feeling lost and loss of loved one for the reason that they didn't expect or for the not very good incident is the reason why it happened that way. What was running through your mind, and what can you give some tips and advice for the audience to go through that path? Because it was painful. It's relate family, relationship, trust, forgiveness, or not. Yeah, and agony too.
That's right. Yeah, of course. Um, it's been almost 3 years since my
Mhm.
sister passed, right? And I don't know, it's something hard to explain because everything, I mean, I went through different things, right? Different stages in my life, but when grief, like came when this happened with my sister, I feel like grief stripped away all the noise. Like it forced
Mm.
me to see myself without the titles, without the roles, without the expectations. It was just me, and something divine, something bigger. And so
Yeah.
that kind of pain, I think, is what changed me, made me think more about, okay, why am I here in this life? What is my purpose? What is that I need to do in this case, right? Like it woke me up. Um,
Mm.
so I, there's something that I always believe, and that is that even the hardest experiences are sent as a blessing, from God, from the
Yeah.
universe, from something greater than us. There's a saying in Spanish, no hay mal que por bien no venga. So, and as painful as it was, grief became my teacher in this case. I learned
Yeah.
that identity isn't something that we earn, it's something that we remember. And what I remember is that I'm a fighter, I'm resilient, and I'm someone who can turn darkness into fuel instead of fear. I think that is, like it helped me keep moving forward, going one
Mm,
step at a time, and just keep going for me, for myself first, for my family, for my kids, my husband, my brothers, sisters, my parents that had to live this pain that I can't even imagine. It was hard for me.
yeah.
I can't imagine for my parents.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And I wish them have a healing process in going through grief themselves as well. Because for a parent,
Thank
they
you.
give birth to the child and see the child go away earlier than them is very painful. I serve
Mm-hmm.
so many women in my clinic and practice, besides talking about support education, etc., lifestyle, they only pour out their heart to me when divorce happened or when their brother got killed by the car accident of drunk driver. And basically, she is a sister and she had to take care of paperwork because he was divorced before. So the child was in their teens and they don't understand how things are all worked yet. Go through the grief at the same time, and the relationship was very hard to mend when it's already far apart. Yeah, so those story is just so deep. It's just real, it's here, it's there. And even though we talk about
Mm-hmm.
the transactional medicine, but these stories are what kindle our heart together and motivate us, um, turn that fuel of grief, anger, fear, whatever that the audience feel into something bigger and
Mm-hmm.
something different. Yeah.
Yeah,
So now,
exactly.
mhm. What about empowering women was so important to you? Like, what do you, in your program or your work, what was you get them from point A to point B? What was that path look like, and how can the audience can visualize it?
Yeah, so I think I basically see myself. When I see my clients, I see myself. I
Yeah,
see this woman that is maybe doesn't have yet that connection with herself, right? Because when we are disconnected from ourselves, we are disconnected from our greater being, right?
yeah,
Someone call it God, universe, they just who we believe in, right? But
mm-hmm.
we as humans, we are connected, or we should be connected, or we should be aware that we have that connection. Once we find ourselves, then it's like, okay, now I believe in myself, then I believe in my dreams. So then I can work on those dreams and make those dreams come true. Because, when we are
Yeah,
kids, don't we dream a lot? Like I was telling you about, reading my fairy tale stories and just
yeah,
putting myself all in, like dreaming that, oh, I'm that princess, and it's the same
wow.
thing. Why do we stop dreaming? There's a point in our life that we stop dreaming, and it's because we carry so many things from around the around us, right? Like our parents, our friends. So that's why, when Tony Robbins says proximity is power.
Yeah,
Yes, proximity is power, because when we as women are together with other women and we share our dreams and we push ourselves you know, to actually do what we are meant to do in this life. So
yeah,
when you ask me, how to, help these women from point A to point B, is basically just help them believe in themselves, believe that they can dream, they can make those dreams come true, through helping them discover what is already inside them. Sometimes
um,
we're like, oh, but I'm not that woman. I'm not lucky like her, or I don't have the same past. I was
mm-hmm.
not born in a I don't know, in a wealthy family or whatever. But like, we know that we can become what we're meant to be if we want to. So it's just finding those things inside us and bringing it out to life. That's what I
Yeah,
believe.
that's beautiful. And that starts with the awareness of feeling disconnected. And I see a lot of people walking around, even though for to see in a clinic is the first thing they can aware about their symptoms, but also underneath their symptom is always a pain, some emotional trigger that fuel this sensation of pain even further. Let's give you an example. For example, one woman who had her brother pass away from cancer. It was painful for her because they were so close together. They went through Vietnam War back in the day, go as a boat people to Canada. It was a beautiful story, painful story. And um, for her, when the loss of the brother happened, her pelvic pain is just aggravating. And I understand in perimenopause or menopause, those vaginal dryness, those symptoms of those hormones happen. But a lot of people, rarely people would experience pudendal nerve pain because of those pain to be aggravated. And it's all about nervous system. So when people regulate that, they will feel calmer, but it takes so long of time. And it always go back to the awareness of the why they're here, why things happen, like all the question it bombarded as you're writing on a paper. And for people, they find counseling or counselor, loved one to really process with them. And I like the fact that you go deeper. What is inside has already there. And the next thing is a choice to make. So therefore they can move forward with that. And I would say that's a big jump from people who were disconnected to the point where they know to believe themselves. I think it would take time, isn't it? What's your experience say that for a lot of people to be patient and what would you say for that?
Well, yeah, definitely it takes time because remember, it's like reprogramming, you know. You start thinking, oh no, I'm not good enough. Life is hard for me. I'm not lucky enough. I can't be uh, someone like whatever, right? And so you
Yeah.
you label yourself. You put those stops yourself, like you think you can't do it, so you keep growing with that in your mind, like saying no, no, I'm not enough, blah blah blah, and it just keeps growing, right? So there's a moment when we start working with these women. It's like, okay, first, how do we help you to really realize, to bring that out of you,
Yeah.
right? Like to start shining basically from the inside. Oh yeah, yes, I didn't know I could do this, right? They start changing their the way that they are thinking, because they start like realizing that small steps, right, start changing.
Hmm.
I For example, I remember one of my clients, she started like saying, no, but I'm just unlucky. Like I attract all the bad things. I'm this and that, all the negative things that you could imagine, right? So there are exercises that you can start doing, like writing, for example. Writing is a very powerful exercise that I use it all the time with my clients. And it's basically, seeing yourself, in the future. Who is that woman in the future that you want to become, right? And don't think that, okay, put your limiting beliefs
Yeah.
aside for now, right? Just start writing. What would you like to be? What would you like? How do you imagine yourself being, like, not that perfect woman, but that woman that is happy, that is successful, that feels alive,
Mm.
that feels like have a purpose, right? Just imagine her. Just, if you don't believe that at this moment, that's totally fine. Just imagine, how would that be, right? How does she think? What does she wear? Where is she now? Where does she go on vacation? Or who is she surrounded by? All those details, like, write just a story about yourself, like beautiful story about yourself. And then it's like, well, okay, now what step could we do now? Like small one, just thinking like that woman, not like the woman that you are right now, but like that woman, like that happy woman. What step do you
Yeah.
think she would do? You know? And then it's like you start thinking suddenly, oh, okay, maybe I can think this way. Maybe I can just take a walk and feel like I'm alive, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the other thing that, is big. This, Evelyn, like being grateful, right? Like
Yeah.
how powerful is being grateful. Be grateful for, you do you have food in your plate today? Yes. Do you have a house where you are staying? You have a bed? Do you have, are your kids healthy? Wow, you know, anything that you have that is working for you. Sometimes we don't see those little things. Sometimes we don't appreciate, the little things that we already have. So building
Yeah.
from that and just changing the way that you're thinking.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us that tactical and also the steps to do. And it sounds as a big idea, but when we really activate and involved into the process of doing it, it would feel so much different. And I would imagine back in the day when I was 15, go over to the USA, have no idea what would happen because a dream in Vietnam when I was as an architecture, I would love to be
Mm.
because I love math. Coming over here, everyone would say, "Oh, Asian people become doctor somewhere like that," and I was like, "Okay, I embody it." But the type of doctor I become is completely different from what my culture expectation is. And I chose the natural path
Uh-huh.
because it's just so holistic and natural, so many ways to go without using just medication and things. And during that time, when you say about finding what is already in you, see yourself in the future and want to become for a young kid like in 20s and early a late teenager, I don't think that is easy for them to see because what they were surrounded by is what the culture in place on them or the expectation from the family. And sometimes it can be just like a box. I remember those times.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
friends,
Hmm.
the friends, especially when you're a teenager, you want to fit in, right?
Yeah.
That's the
That's the
main
thing.
thing. So it's
Yep.
so hard.
Uh-huh. And later on,
So
when
yeah,
we go, mhm, when we go through different
yeah,
career paths, higher education, or even choose a career for a person, then it's just like a flip where we have to be a certain person we want to be, and then we just like unlearn everything we have known in the previous time to become someone that we have not known before, but we desire to. Yeah.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
this morning, I listened to an audiobook, and there was a quote is about there's a difference between a realist and a practical. If we stay that way, the realist and practical, such as I have this amount of money, that's all I can spend, or I don't have this abundant resources, so therefore I will stay in my own lane, versus a dreamer who continue to build and pursue their dreams. Is the same person, but if you have a different line of thought and thinking, it can go to a very different path, and we're becoming someone that we want or desire to be. Yeah, it's truly powerful. Thanks for bringing it back
Hmm.
and align with everything else. Yeah.
Sure.
Hmm. And I hear also the choice and the voice when people really find a voice and they make that choice, and that make a big difference. Um, and anything else that you would like a golden nugget or any teaching points where you feel this, if we do it today, then it will build like a building block for the next day in the next month or next year for people to hear about.
Yeah, so a golden nugget. Let's see. Um, I think I would say this, like nothing about about them, I'm talking to the women, right, that are listening to us, then nothing about them is broken. Even if they feel that way right now, right? Everything they need is already inside. They just forgot how powerful they are. And sometimes all they need is someone to remind them. And I will also say this directly to her. You were not created to survive life. You were created to shine through it. That's what I would say to this
Yeah.
person that is listening right now.
To shine through it, not to just survive, is so true. Many time in life, we have to find way to survive through relationship, through having children, make sure we can provide enough of those material for our family, for our elder as well. But then shine through it is a very special word. Would you elaborate more on that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Would you elaborate more the word shine through it?
Yeah, of course. So what I mean by that is like you are in this life and you have to enjoy everything. Sometimes, life, like in this case, this specific case, of course, I could tell you lots of many stories from my 40 plus years now, right?
Yeah.
Being alive and having all kind of experiences, but just from my last experience, that I would say the hardest so far in my life, losing my sister, that was something that changed my life, changed the way I was thinking at that moment. And do I mean by shine through it? It's like, yes, it was painful. I had a really sad, hard time when that happened. But at the same time, I found that that taught me something, right?
Mhm.
Even though it was so painful, then I'm like, okay, shine through it, because I'm finding my purpose now. I'm helping other women. I'm like
Yeah.
shining. I'm like feeling alive, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if, I had to go through that hard time to discover that. That's a question, but that's what happened to me.
Yeah. And I would imagine if any listener who listened to this and can recollect those story where we got hit the rock bottom, then we will have to find a way through, or else we can hold on to the moment, the memory, and it does store in our body in different location, like pain in the lower back or even upper body, or we couldn't really feel as alive or vibrant like we used to. And those things does keep the score in our body. And as we move through, if we don't find a way to resolve, release it, and find a way to go through it, if we hear about anxiety, depression, it happens all the time. And for my
Mhm.
work, when people coming in to ask for, hey, can I just try my antidepressant or anxiolytic medication to help calm the nerve? And I always tell them, did we ever have a tools to know how to resolve and express those emotions? Because the more we numb it, the more we just suppress it, the more it will stay there and it's gonna burn you for a long, long time. And we just miss that opportunity to know who can or could we be differently if we deal with it. And sometimes it take like a person like you walk through life, and sometimes in church or friendship, anyone will give us a little story like be an angel out there that we don't know about, but we have
Mhm.
to be aware and also listen to that very intuitively. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for your presence and the work that you do to get people back and rediscover their life again. It's a very big things to know that these tools, the people, the presence of surrounding are out there so people have hope. Because when people get into those situations of sadness, of lost, and of not trusting, it's like a dark hole and can never get out until you are willing to get out. Yeah. So
That
how
is
can people find
correct.
you?
Sure. Yeah. So I can give you my Instagram.
Yeah.
So at Maritza Pierson _official, or my website, despiertamujer.com. Um, or they can also send me an email, info@despiertamujer.com.
Thank you. I will put all the information in the description below. And thank you, Marissa, for reminding us that even though pain, light finds the way. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Maybe you take this conversation as an invitation to pause, reflect, and reach for your own purpose. So you can reconnect with Marissa based on those information in the link below and join her community supporting women to rediscover their strength as well. And if this episode spoke to you, share with someone who needs a reminder that healing and purpose can coexist. So follow the podcast and join me at the Prolific Well for more story that can help you live fully and not just longer. Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and keep listening to the wisdom within. Thanks so much, Marissa.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Evelyn.
All right. And I'll stop right there.